Every level of mutant classification explained. Level 1, Epsilon, cosmetic/debilitating. Beak. In 2001, Grant Morrison introduced Barnell Bowhusk to the pages of New X-Men. His mutation gave him a bird-like appearance, hollow bones, and a beak. That was it. No flight, no enhanced strength, just the physical features that made him look like a humanoid chicken. He enrolled at the Xavier Institute hoping to find purpose, but instead became a walking reminder of how cruel the genetic lottery could be. Other students mocked him. Teachers struggled to find a role for him on the battlefield. His only real moment came during the riots at the Institute, when he stood his ground despite having nothing to fight with. Later storylines saw him lose his powers on M-Day, and when they returned, they were just as underwhelming. Beak represents the bottom tier of mutant existence, proof that not every X gene activates into something heroic. His story is one of survival, not glory. Epsilon-level mutants like him carry the weight of mutation without the power to back it up. Skin. Angelo Espinosa appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 317 back in 1994. His mutation gave him 6 extra feet of gray, wrinkled skin that hung off his body like melted wax. He could stretch and manipulate it, but compared to Mr. Fantastic or other elasticity-based heroes, Skin's abilities were crude and limited. The extra flesh was heavy, awkward, and visibly disturbing. It made him self-conscious and isolated, even among other mutants. He joined Generation X, a team of younger mutants training under Banshee and Emma Frost, but he was never the star. His powers worked for basic utility, grabbing objects from a distance, wrapping up enemies, but they lacked the punch needed for real combat. His story ended tragically when he was murdered by a human hate group, strung up on a fence as a warning. Skin's mutation defined him, but it never elevated him. He lived and died as an Epsilon, a mutant whose gift felt more like a burden. The cosmetic mutations, the ones that marked you as different without giving you the tools to defend yourself, that's the cruelest tier of all. Level 2, Gamma, powers with heavy mutation. Maggott. Japheth first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 345 in 1997, one of the strangest additions to the roster. His digestive system had been replaced by 2 giant metallic slugs named Eenie and Meanie that lived inside his body. When he needed to eat, the slugs would emerge, consume metal or other materials, and then return to his stomach to process the energy. It sounds bizarre because it was. Maggott's powers were slow, unpredictable, and visually off-putting. The slugs gave him enhanced strength and durability when fed properly, but the process was awkward and unreliable. He joined the X-Men during a tumultuous era, but his time with the team was short-lived. Writers struggled to find a role for him, and readers never connected with the character. His backstory involving experimentation and trauma added depth, but it couldn't overcome the fundamental strangeness of his mutation. He was eventually killed off during the Weapon X program, his death barely acknowledged. Maggott is remembered as one of the X-Men's most forgettable experiments, a mutant whose power set was more gimmick than game-changer. Gamma-level mutants have abilities, but they come packaged with mutations so severe there is much curse as blessing. Marrow. Sarah first appeared in Cable number 15 in 1994, a mutant with the ability to grow bones out of her body and use them as weapons. Her mutation was painful, grotesque, and tied to her identity as a Morlock survivor. She could rip bones from her own skeleton and wield them as knives, clubs, or projectiles, with her body rapidly regenerating the damage. Visually, she was striking. Bone protrusions jutted from her face and arms, making her look like a walking horror show. She joined the X-Men in the late 90s, but her time on the team was rocky. Her powers were effective in close combat, giving her offensive capabilities that most Gamma levels lacked, but they required her to constantly injure herself. That self-destructive element, combined with her abrasive personality and visible deformities, kept her from rising higher. Marrow represents the Gamma tier mutant who's dangerous but marked. She can hold her own in a fight, but she's wearing her mutation on her sleeve, literally. The power is there, but so is the heavy cost of what it takes to be different.
Level 3, Beta, versatile with flaws, multiple man. Jamie Madrox first appeared in Giant Size Fantastic Four number 4 in 1975. His mutation is deceptively simple. Every time he's struck by kinetic energy, he creates a duplicate of himself. On the surface, it's a solid power, instant backup, reconnaissance, multitasking, but the complications run deep. Each duplicate has its own personality quirks and can go rogue. In Peter David's X-Factor run, Madrox became a private investigator, using his dupes to handle multiple cases simultaneously. It was clever, and it showcased exactly what beta level means: versatility without dominance. His duplicates aren't immortal. If one dies, he feels the trauma. If one goes too far off the rails, it can corrupt the prime. And in combat, he's only as strong as a baseline human multiplied. Against heavy hitters, he's overwhelmed. The mental strain of managing dozens or hundreds of versions of yourself, each with their own experiences and opinions, that's the flaw that keeps Madrox from climbing higher. He's useful on a team, he can be everywhere at once, but he'll never carry a fight alone. Beta-level mutants have range and adaptability, but their limitations are just as obvious as their strengths. Jubilee. Jubilation Lee debuted in Uncanny X-Men number 244 in 1989 as a mall rat with the ability to generate explosive energy plasmoids, basically fireworks. She was the plucky sidekick to Wolverine, who brought levity to the X-Men's darker storylines. Her powers were flashy, literally, but they came with hard limits. The plasmoids could blind enemies, create distractions, and at their peak cause concussive damage, but they were never heavy artillery. Jubilee's versatility came from her creativity. She used her powers for illumination, signaling, breaking locks, and disrupting electronics. She could adapt to situations in ways that raw powerhouses couldn't. But when it came to stopping serious threats, she needed backup. Beta-level mutants like Jubilee shine in support roles. They're the utility players who make teams function smoother. But ask them to solo a Sentinel, and you'll see where the ceiling hits. Her later transformations, losing her powers on M-Day and becoming a vampire, showed just how fragile that beta status could be when circumstances changed.
Level 4. Alpha. Elite Control and Power. Colossus. Pyotr Rasputin debuted in Giant-Size X-Men number 1 in 1975, one of the most iconic members of the second generation of X-Men. His power is straightforward. He can transform his entire body into organic steel, granting him superhuman strength and near invulnerability. In his armored form, he's lifted tanks, punched through walls, and taken hits that would shatter normal mutants. His durability makes him one of the X-Men's primary tanks, the one who stands in front when the team needs a shield. Alpha-level mutants are defined by mastery. Colossus knows exactly what he can do and executes it perfectly every time. His steel form doesn't glitch, doesn't fail, doesn't require charging up. He transforms, and he's immediately one of the strongest beings in the room. But Alpha has its limits. His steel form is strong, but not unbreakable. Magneto can manipulate him. Extreme temperatures can weaken him. And while he's powerful, he's not versatile. He punches, he throws, he absorbs damage, but he lacks the reality-bending potential of higher tiers. His greatest moments came through sacrifice, like when he took the legacy virus cure to save others, or when he became the Juggernaut to fight the Serpent. Colossus is a cornerstone of the X-Men, elite in every sense, but his power ceiling is visible. Nightcrawler. Kurt Wagner first appeared in Giant-Size X-Men number 1 in 1975, alongside Colossus and Storm. His mutation gave him a demonic appearance, blue fur, a prehensile tail, and the ability to teleport in bursts of smoke and brimstone. Nightcrawler's teleportation, or Bamthing, is one of the most refined powers in the X-Men roster. He's perfected it to an art form. He can dodge attacks, reposition instantly, teleport others, and strike from unpredictable angles. In combat, he's a nightmare for enemies who rely on conventional tactics. That's Alpha-level control. The difference between Beta and Alpha is precision. Where Beta mutants have flaws they work around, Alpha mutants have mastered their abilities completely. Kurt's constraints are physical, not technical. He needs to see or know where he's teleporting. Long distances exhaust him, and while he's agile and skilled with swords, he's not a powerhouse in terms of raw offense. But within his operational range, he's flawless. What elevates Nightcrawler into Alpha territory is that combination of elite execution and tactical brilliance. He's been a leader, a teacher, and a spiritual center for the team. His teleportation makes him invaluable, and his mastery of it makes him elite.
Level 5. Apex Alpha. Peak Non-Omega. Rogue. Anna Marie debuted in Avengers Annual number 10 in 1981, introduced as a villain before joining the X-Men. Her mutation allows her to absorb the powers, memories, and life force of anyone she touches. It's one of the most dangerous abilities in Marvel, a power that makes her a wild card in any fight. At her peak, Rogue operates with permanently absorbed powers from Miss Marvel, giving her flight, super strength, and invulnerability. But her real threat is adaptability. She can touch a telepath and gain telepathy. She can touch a speedster and gain speed. In the right circumstances, Rogue can temporarily become the most powerful person in the room. That's Apex Alpha territory. She's not quite Omega because her power isn't unlimited on its own. She needs sources to draw from. But when she's stacked with absorbed abilities, she's fought Avengers, led X-Men teams, and taken on cosmic-level threats. The tragedy of Rogue is that her greatest strength is also her greatest isolation. She can't touch anyone without risking absorption. Relationships are impossible. Physical intimacy is deadly, and if she holds on too long during absorption, she risks losing herself in the absorbed personalities. Apex Alpha mutants stand at the threshold of Omega, powerful enough to reshape battles, but still bound by rules that limit them from true godhood. Level 6. Omega. Unlimited Potential. Magneto. Max Eisenhart. Eric Lenscher. Magneto. The Master of Magnetism first appeared in X-Men number 1 in 1963 as the team's first major villain. His mutation gives him control over magnetic fields, allowing him to manipulate metal, generate force fields, and even affect the iron in blood. Over decades, Magneto evolved from a simple villain into one of Marvel's most complex characters, a Holocaust survivor whose methods are extreme but whose motivations are rooted in protecting mutant kind from extinction. Omega-level classification means your power has no defined upper limit. Magneto has demonstrated this repeatedly. He's ripped Wolverine's adamantium skeleton out of his body. He's reversed the Earth's magnetic poles. He's held entire cities hostage and manipulated the iron in people's bloodstreams to control them like puppets. In House of M, he was central to reshaping reality itself, creating a world where mutants ruled. The only thing that limits Magneto is his own control and emotional state. When he's focused, he's a planetary threat. When he's unstable, his powers can spiral out of control. That's the Omega distinction. The power is limitless, but the wielder is still human. Storm. Ororo Munroe first appeared in giant-size X-Men number 1 in 1975, a goddess in the eyes of her African village and a powerhouse in the X-Men. Her mutation grants her control over weather, allowing her to summon lightning, tornadoes, blizzards, and hurricanes with a thought. She's flooded entire cities, stopped droughts, and created localized climate shifts that have turned battles in the X-Men's favor. Storm's Omega classification is about scope. She doesn't just control weather in a room or a building. She can affect entire regions, potentially the planet. In some storylines, writers have shown her creating storms on other worlds or in space. That's unlimited potential. But what makes Storm one of the most respected Omegas is her restraint. She understands the ecological impact of her abilities and uses them with precision. She's been depowered and regained her abilities multiple times, served as leader of the X-Men, married Black Panther, and stood as one of the most respected mutants in Marvel. Her control over weather makes her a planetary-level threat, but her discipline keeps her from casual destruction. Omega power without Omega responsibility is catastrophic. Storm represents the ideal. Iceman. Bobby Drake first appeared in X-Men number 1 in 1963 as one of the original 5. For decades, he was underestimated, portrayed as the comic relief who made ice slides and threw snowballs. But the truth, revealed slowly over years of comics, is that Iceman is one of the most powerful Omega-level mutants alive. He doesn't just control ice, he controls moisture at the molecular level. He can freeze the water in someone's body, create massive ice constructs, and, most terrifyingly, he can reconstitute himself from any water source. That means he's functionally immortal as long as water exists. Emma Frost once took control of his body and demonstrated feats he'd never attempted on his own. She froze entire rivers instantly, reshaped his form into pure ice, and showed that Bobby had been subconsciously
limiting himself for years. When Iceman finally accepted his Omega status, he became a different kind of threat. He's created armies of ice clones. He's frozen entire battle zones solid. He's dispersed his consciousness across global water supplies. The only thing that kept him from this tier earlier was fear. Fear of losing his humanity. Fear of becoming something too powerful to relate to his friends. Omega-level mutants don't just have unlimited power. They have to live with knowing they could end the world if they stopped holding back.
Level 7. Beyond. Cosmic and Reality Warpers. Jean Grey with Phoenix Force. Jean Grey first appeared in X-Men #1 in 1963 as Marvel Girl, a telepath and telekinetic with immense potential. But her true ascension came in Uncanny X-Men #101 in 1976 when she bonded with the Phoenix Force, a cosmic entity of creation and destruction. This is where we leave Omega behind and enter something else, beyond classification. As Phoenix, Jean became one of the most powerful beings in the universe. She could manipulate matter at the molecular level, resurrect herself from death, travel through time, and reshape reality on a cosmic scale. Her most infamous act came as Dark Phoenix, when she consumed a star and destroyed an entire inhabited planet, killing billions. That storyline, the Dark Phoenix saga, remains one of the most iconic in comics history because it showed what happens when unlimited power meets human emotion. Even without the Phoenix Force, Jean is an Omega-level mutant. Her telepathy rivals Professor X, and her telekinesis can level cities. But with the Phoenix, she transcends mutant classification entirely. She becomes a cosmic force. The Phoenix Force chose her because of her capacity for both creation and destruction, her humanity and her rage. Jean Grey's story is one of power without limits and the cost of wielding it. She's died and resurrected more times than almost any character in Marvel, bound to the Phoenix in a cycle that elevates her beyond normal mutant existence. Professor X. Charles Xavier first appeared in X-Men #1 in 1963, the founder of the X-Men and the world's most powerful telepath. His mutation allows him to read minds, control thoughts, project illusions, and communicate across vast distances. With Cerebro, his range extends globally, allowing him to locate and influence any mind on Earth. Beyond-level mutants operate on scales that break conventional power metrics. Xavier doesn't just have telepathy. He has the ability to rewrite someone's entire sense of reality without them ever knowing. He stopped wars with a thought, erased memories of entire populations, and even created psychic barriers so strong they've contained other cosmic-level threats. But his power comes with moral complexity that most physical powerhouses never face. He's violated minds, manipulated his students, and made decisions that have fractured the X-Men. Onslaught, a villain born from Xavier's darkest thoughts merging with Magneto's rage, nearly destroyed the Marvel Universe. That's the danger of beyond-level power. It's not just about what you can do, it's about what happens when that power corrupts. Xavier's classification isn't just about raw ability, it's about the terrifying potential of absolute mental control. He could theoretically control every mind on Earth simultaneously. He could rewrite personalities, erase identities, enslave nations. The only thing stopping him is his own moral code, and even that has failed before. Franklin Richards. The son of Reed and Sue Richards first appeared in Fantastic Four Annual #6 in 1968. Franklin is technically a mutant, but calling him that feels inadequate. His powers include reality warping, time manipulation, creating pocket universes, and precognition. As a child, he's already reshaped existence multiple times. He's created entire universes to save heroes during multiversal collapses. He's brought Galactus back to life and depowered cosmic entities with a thought. His abilities are so vast that even Celestials, beings that judge entire planets, have acknowledged him as a peer or threat. What makes Franklin the pinnacle of mutant power is that he operates beyond the rules that govern other mutants entirely. Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force can destroy galaxies, Franklin can create them. Professor X can control minds. Franklin can rewrite what minds are capable of thinking. Magneto can manipulate magnetism. Franklin can decide whether magnetism exists in his universe. He's been both a child struggling to understand his gifts and a force that's held reality together when everything else failed. In the hierarchy of mutants, Franklin Richards doesn't just sit at the top. He exists in a category that breaks classification systems. He's not limited by physics, by energy sources, or by the laws of reality. He writes those laws. When writers need to explain why Franklin isn't solving every problem, the answer is usually that he's a child, or his powers are fluctuating, or he's deliberately holding back. Because if Franklin Richards operated at full capacity with adult understanding, there would be no conflicts in Marvel. He would simply decide how things should be, and reality would comply. And that's it. From Epsilon mutants marked by their mutations with nothing to show for it, all the way up to beyond-level reality shapers who exist outside normal power scaling. Now to you. Out of every mutant across these 7 tiers, who do you think truly deserves the title of most powerful? Comment down below, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this.